Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the... Oh, I'm going to move the camera. There we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report. I'm Alex. Great to be with you once again. We'll recap the week that was in, or maybe wasn't, in Pittsburgh sports. I think definitely more wasn't than was. This might be a bit of a depressing show today. It's normally you and I are very upbeat and positive.
I always laugh because people will say to me on social media, why are you so negative? I'm like, okay, first off, I get paid to talk sports, so I'm not actually here to make everything sunflowers and roses and all this type of stuff. We give an opinion on what we see, whether it's critical or not. We're giving you our honest opinion, and sometimes we're going to be real positive about what's going on, sometimes we're not. This is one of those times when I'm not going to be very positive with what's going on in the world of sports in Pittsburgh right now.
No, I really don't. I don't have too much good to say at the top of the show. I mean, listen, let's just start off with the news of the weekend. I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers played one of probably the worst games I have ever seen watching the NFL in my entire life this weekend with the Detroit Lions. And this should have been a layup. I know it's the NFL, they're all professionals, but 0-8, this should have been a layup gimme. They should have won that game, maybe 8 to 10 points. They should have won that game by a touchdown or more and just gave it away.
Well, I've been saying this all along, and, I'm not a Tomlin fan. And the fact that they came with a plan that was really orchestrated for Ben and used it with Mason Rudolph, to me, makes absolutely no sense. You'll hear people say, well, okay, they didn't have time to change the game plan. You couldn't change it from passing 50 times to running it more? That doesn't make sense to me. It's terrible conditions out. You have a backup quarterback. You have basically backup receivers playing. And you just decide, we're going to throw the ball around the field 50 sometimes. And we're not going to throw in the middle of the field. We're just going to throw on the sides. So you played right into their hands. Defensively, Jared Goff couldn't do anything. He couldn't throw the ball.
No.
So what do the Steelers do? They let the second and third and fourth string running back run for over 200 and some yards in the first half.
It was terrible. I mean, of all the Steelers games that I could possibly pick to watch over the course of the season, I pick the one where they play the worst. The conversion of Alex into a Steelers fan is not going well right now.
I like that you watched it because we talked last show about how bad Devin Bush.
Oh, he was terrible.
He's awful.
He was terrible out there.
The majority of the reason that they ran for that many yards in the first half is because of him. He's a middle linebacker who does nothing to stop the run in the middle.
I mean, it was funny. You had mentioned that we talked about it during the last show, and then I'm going to try to go. I'm going to have to go back a couple days on my Twitter to find it. But one of the mainstream reporters that put something out about Bush, and it was like, we're paying this guy all this money to run in the opposite direction, which is almost exactly word for word what you said last week on the show here. I'm trying to go back here. It was all this Point Park stuff, and we can talk about that too. But yeah, wherever it was from last week, where the guy was like, we're paying him all this money, and he's just contributing to the problem on how we're playing. And I guess this was from Sunday. So, okay, it's Friday. So, yeah, I can't find it. But
they have a lot of problems. And the reality and the truth, who I wish was with us today, because I would have blasted the truth with his 11 and whatever.
The Super Bowl prediction, yeah.
They're just not really a good football team. They're kind of a mediocre football team. They've kind of been a mediocre football team for a while. What happened?
The microphone was off.
Okay.
It was definitely going out over mine, but it just wasn't as high as it should have been.
Right,
now you're
cool.
good.
But they're just not that good. And the reality is, you have for years now a kind of subpar football team that everybody kind of wants to think is a lot better than they are. Yeah, last year they won the division, but they completely melted down during the stretch. And, I think that's just kind of where we're at now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in my opinion is they probably need to I would tank the rest of the season and try to get a quarterback, because you're not going to win the Super Bowl this year. You're not going to win the division this year. So,
I
forget
think
it.
you'd be lucky to make the playoffs the way they're playing right now. It's going to be a tough game against the Chargers on the weekend. And it sounds like they're going with Rudolph again. He's going to be the quarterback, and I believe Tomlin had said here, we will leave the light on for Ben Roethlisberger. That's right. We'll leave the light on for you. That's right. If we get to a point where Ben is moving, he'll be capable of executing our game plan. He obviously didn't play because he was on the Rona list this weekend. He's vaccinated and needs 2 negative tests to be able to play again.
If he's vaccinated, he should be good. We were told that, it's a magic potion.
Sounds like it.
That's the other thing is in these professional sports leagues and stuff, COVID's not going away anywhere. Or is this going to be the new modus operandi for life? Like, we're only going to test for COVID. It's the only thing that you can get sick from in the world, even though we've had 0 professional athletes die of it. But all other diseases, you're good. Go ahead,
It's very interesting that that's the only thing that they're...
It's insane.
And again, I know we don't do... This is more of a political issue,
Right.
and we don't really talk about it, but, that's the only thing that they're checking
It's the only
guys
thing you can
for.
knock out. All other
Like the flu,
illnesses, you're good.
doesn't
Nope,
matter.
doesn't matter.
Chicken pox, no, you don't need to
you're
worry
good. You're
about
good to
it.
play. Yeah.
And
It's insane.
And I'm not trying to knock anybody who's lost anyone from COVID at all, but if you look at the numbers, like why are you so worried about 25-year-old professional athletes?
I don't get it.
Like if there's anyone you should probably be worried about, it's grandma in a nursing home,
Right?
Not the 25-year-old athlete who's doing 10-mile runs and bench pressing 300 pounds. He's probably got the immune system to kick it.
I don't know how long this protocol, because like I said, it's not a virus. It's a virus, so it's not going away.
No, it's endemic. Yeah,
and you're not this ridiculousness of every single week, even if you're asymptomatic or whatever, blah blah blah. We're going to keep you out. We're going to keep you out, and you're perfectly fine. It's craziness.
Listen, it costs.
Look how it's affecting the NHL.
It cost the Pittsburgh Riverhounds their season.
Exactly.
It ended their playoff run before it even started.
Yep.
Like they had a great month to get in, and then because a couple of guys test positive because they're testing them every week.
Yeah.
Still. Ended their season. You're done.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, and then not just Roethlisberger, now Minka Fitzpatrick is on the list as well after a positive test. He doesn't expect to have him on the weekend. And, Roethlisberger was in isolation for a week, and I guess we prepared the game for Ben last week, and Mason executed it, Tomlin said.
Well,
he theoretically he did, but it just wasn't.
Here's my thing.
It didn't play to his.
People like I don't know if you're in the Pro Football Focus at all. They're usually people have a love-hate relationship with them. They usually love them when they back up their opinion, and they hate them when they don't.
When they don't, okay, yeah.
And they had an article on today, basically saying like that Mason Rudolph was not as bad as you fans made it out to be. Like, you basically...
Well, no, he wasn't terrible.
No, to me, he did what he needed to do to win the game. He put them in a position to win the game, and they didn't do it. I mean, you had key drops at the end of the game, fumbles. Like I said, you allowed the Lions to control the time of possession for a large portion of the game by allowing them to just run all over you. You're supposed to have this fantastic, top-notch defense. I'm just not seeing it. And reality is, when you have guys out that are key parts of that defense, that they've had guys out all year guys that have gotten out early in the year, they're just not the same. And we need to quit playing. I know Watt didn't play or, got injured later on in the game, so he wasn't there. But, you have Stephon Tuitt that's been out all year. You have multiple other, important players on this defense that have been out. And they're just, like I said, they're a mediocre, middle of the line, just about 500 football team, in my opinion.
Yeah, in addition to the guys that, obviously Roethlisberger and now Fitzpatrick, away from COVID, TJ Watt, Joe Hayden, Kevin Dotson, Try Turner all got hurt against Detroit. Tomlin didn't have a concrete timeline, this is from ESPN, for any to return, but he said he's big on this term. He's going to leave the light on for Watt to return, who had MRIs on his hip and knee that came back negative.
Yeah, you have Tyson Alulu's out, or however they want to pronounce it. Everybody changed. It's 2 different ways of pronouncing it. Juju is out. Okay,
Tuitt's been out. Carlos Davis has been out at defensive tackle. You just have too many guys that are out or guys that are still in that just are injured and playing through it. So yeah, I just think, we can beat the horse until it's, blue and green and every other color. But the reality is they're just not that good. And
No.
I don't really see them doing much down the stretch here. You have a tough portion of the schedule coming up. Who do we got here? I'm going to pull this up.
Chargers away.
Chargers are going to be tough.
Bengals away.
Bengals already beat them.
Ravens home. Going to be tough.
Yep. Vikings, Titans. I'm actually going to the Titans game. Chiefs, the Cowboys. It's just. I'm sorry, I don't got the Cowboys. I'm looking at the preseason. But you got the Ravens at the end of Cleveland and Ravens at the end of the season.
They're kind of through the portion where they needed to win the games.
Yeah.
Where specifically last week. And could Tomlin's never having a losing season be in a little bit of trouble?
Who cares
at the
about
turn?
that? You know what I mean? Like, I would much rather have a couple losing seasons that lead to
A big run.
time draft picks
than
to say, oh, well, we went 8-8 this year, so I didn't get big deal. The team actually needed you to go 6-10 so that you could have picked up a better player to replace the guy that, kept you at 8-8. That's my perspective.
It's a good
500 doesn't mean crap to me.
It's a good argument to have.
Yeah.
And I think though a lot of fans specifically focus on like, well, we had a winning record, or we were, that they don't necessarily think about like, maybe a 3-13 year where there's an offensive tackle that's going to go in the top 3 is what we need.
Right.
Because they're not always. And I know the Steelers have been very successful with it over the years. That like draft and develop guys over a 2 to 3 year period. But the problem is when you get caught in a year like this, where over maybe a 2 year period before this, you lose your whole offensive line, you lose a couple linebackers, and now you have 8 guys that you're planning on. Well, we're let them mature, and when they're 2 years in or 3 years in, they'll be ready. Now it's like, well, they're in year 1 or year 2.
You know what
and
they
we need
remind me of? And we're going to transition into this coming up after. We're going to take a break, I think, after
Yeah.
this. But they remind me of kind of where the Penguins were at a couple years ago. And to me, and we'll get into this, I also think the Penguins are on the decline right now.
Big news broke yesterday late, though.
About the ownership, right?
Potential
we'll
ownership.
that,
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
But the Penguins, to me, are on the decline. Sid's getting up there, Gino's up there, Letang's up there. They're not producing like they normally had. And we have all of the people that are trying to just hang on to the stars, hang on to Ben, hang on to Letang, and vice versa. And at some point, as a fan or as an organization, you have to acknowledge the fact that, the team we have right now is just not good enough to compete to win a championship. And we need to make some changes. This could lead to us having some pretty bad years coming forward, but we're going to have to do it if we want to compete again. And that's kind of where they've gone from consummate contenders for championships to we're right around 500 every year. We might get in the playoffs. To me, that's really not the tradition of excellence that Steeler or Penguin fans expect. Pirate fans, it's a different story.
That's a different story, yeah.
We're happy just to be over 500.
That's right. Well, we'll talk about that when we get back. Everybody hang loose.
Carnegie Ironworks is Pittsburgh's go-to for artistic, unique, and decorative steel and iron designs. We provide custom fencing, interior and exterior railings, outdoor fire pits, window coverings, and much more. If you can think of it, we can fabricate it. Find us on the web at www.carnegieiron.com. That's Carnegie Ironworks, for when you need it for 500 years. Are you an athlete looking to take your game and performance to the next level? Gym Rat Performance Training is where Pittsburgh's elite competitors go to train. We specialize in personal training, strength, speed, and agility training, sports-specific training, and we offer the best basketball player development in the City of Champions. If you are ready to transform your body, expand your mind, and reach your potential, it's time to join the Rat Pack at gymratpt.com. That's GYMRATPT.com. Gym Rat Performance Training, punishing Pittsburgh since 2016 because rats don't rest. Are you looking for a job that can turn into a career? If so, why don't you hit the road with Waste Management? Waste Management is hiring experienced and entry-level CDL truck drivers and technicians. If you're at least 18 years of age, come join our growing team and get up to a $7,000 sign-on bonus based on experience. WM offers competitive pay and industry-leading benefits, including tuition reimbursement for yourself and dependents. Start your tomorrow today. Visit WM online at careers.wm.com. Protect yours and provide for others with the Polish Falcons of America. If you could get great life insurance and make an impact in your community, why wouldn't you? You can do both by choosing the Polish Falcons of America. The PFA provides life insurance and financial services while also giving back to the people we serve by reinvesting our profits into communities. If you're thinking about life insurance, it's time to think differently. Learn more by calling 1-800-535-2071. That's 1-800-535-2071 or visiting PolishFalcons.org.
And we're back here on the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report. Alex and Andrew with you. Coach made a good point going into the break that is it time to stop living in the past for Pittsburgh sports? You know, Ben Roethlisberger, Sidney Crosby, Malkin. These guys they're getting older, like you said. And is it time to generate a new round of superstars?
Well,
in Western Pennsylvania,
you know, the Penguins dropped a game last evening to one of the Buffalo Sabres, which are not a very good team. But the Penguins are not a very good team. They're 5-6-4. To me, that's 5-10.
5-10, yeah. It's a fancy way to hide losses.
Yeah, and they're getting to the point right now where they are. I'm getting really worried. They have, let's see here, played 15 games. They have 14 points in their division, the Metropolitan. Carolina and the Capitals already have 24, 23 points.
They're so far off.
They're 10
so
points behind. I mean, it's going to be really difficult to catch up the more they keep blowing games like this. And I think you're spot on. You're talking about. I mean, the Penguins lost to the Senators the other day. The Senators are what 4-10 or something like that.
Yeah, 4-10. Yeah,
they're just not a very good hockey team anymore. I don't think that is a reflection on Mike Sullivan. I think it's kind of a reflection on the fact that they just don't have guys that can stay healthy. Their stars aren't really stars anymore. They might be, in that second tier of hockey players, but they're just not. They're your stars today are more probably like Jake Gensel and those type of guys, and those guys aren't superstars. They're good players, but they're not superstars.
No, they're not. And I think, I know it's early in the season, there's a lot of hockey left to be played. You can always get hot or whatever, but if you look at the way this is playing out, I mean, you can already clearly see kind of the separation between the top 5 in the Eastern Conference and everybody else. Like you had said, Carolina, Washington, and the Rangers all in the division above 20 points with 5-6 points clearing from the Flyers and the Devils to them. And then the Panthers and the Leafs are also over 20 with a gap, a 2-game gap now on Tampa and Detroit. So you've already kind of separated out the first 5. It's going to get harder.
Montreal coming up. They have Toronto, Winnipeg, Vancouver. The Islanders aren't very good, but it's not getting easier for them. And I'm not seeing them improving. Sid's coming back. That's going to make a big difference. But, let's not pretend like Sid is a 50, goal scorer anymore. I mean, that's just not what he's going to do. So, yeah, I think it's going to – if the Penguins can get into the playoffs this year, that would be a successful season. But, they're kind of like we said, they're like the Steelers. Is just getting into the playoffs really what you want to be doing when you're – kind of in the twilight era for Sid, or Malkin.
Not in this market. Yeah. I think if you were, if we were having this conversation in Columbus, or if you and I were doing a sports talk show out in Nassau County, Long Island, we would probably be saying,
the Islanders this year, by the way.
They're bad.
Yeah,
surprisingly. They are also very bad.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, after 15 years of living in the depths of hell, the Devils are actually not bad this year.
Yeah.
They've somehow turned it around a little bit. Arizona's the worst team. The Coyotes are, I believe they only have 5 points.
I really hate the point system, by the way. Like, I hate the loser point and all that type of
stuff. Listen, that's why I'm a traditionalist in a lot of ways. What was wrong with the tie?
I don't know.
You played 5 minutes overtime. Okay, call it a day. Or maybe you want to play 10 minutes. You want to change it, play 10 minutes overtime to try to get a goal or something. But yeah, the losses and the shootout losses and the this and that
stuff, like, that doesn't bother me. But like, if you lose, you lose.
Well, yeah.
So, like, if you lose in the shootout, you don't
lose.
Get a point.
You shouldn't get a point.
That's my thing.
No.
I like a clear-cut winner, but I don't like the idea that just because you got into overtime, you get a point. And that, to me, is like, get rid of the loser point. You win. Whoever wins gets the points.
I agree. And listen, I think the Penguins, and we've beat this horse already this season, that they need to be preparing for life after Sid. They need to be preparing for life after Malkin, and I don't know that they're really doing the diligence and the homework to make that happen. You have to remember that also Jeff Carter is 36, Brian Boyle is 36, Letang's 34. So there's a big turnover that's going to be coming in this organization over the next 2 to 3 years, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, Malkin's 35.
Yep.
I'm 37. I'm in pretty good shape, but I'm not in shape to be playing professional hockey 82 games plus playoffs and all that type of stuff. The reality is your body eventually doesn't cooperate the way that it should, especially when you've been playing a physical, violent game your entire life.
Well, listen, it's funny you mentioned this. Like, I could tell you this just as somebody who's kept themselves in decent shape, but listen, I haven't played a competitive sport in years, but at 34, when I go run 4 or 5 miles, I feel it the next day. Like, I wake up in the morning and I'm laying in bed and I'm like, everything from my hips on down are just like throb. Yeah. I couldn't imagine being a 36-year-old who's played hockey and gotten bashed into the boards and tripped and hit with sticks, and your body doesn't respond the way a 25-year-old does. And I don't see that next guy for them coming through who's going to be that player. I guess, like you said, Gensel is probably their top guy.
Yeah, I would say Gensel. You also have, you have a couple young players that I've been impressed with this year. I think guys, like you said, Kasperi Kapanen is a really good player for them, but he hasn't really been up to par this year. I think Evan Rodriguez has showed some promise. Brian Rust, obviously, for years has been a good player for the Penguins, but you don't have, I think Sid will be around for a couple more years.
Oh, I'm not saying he's done. No.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not going to be. You can't be expecting Sid to be the Sid of 2009.
No,
and
when he was 25, 22,
Right.
whatever the hell he was. Yeah, I mean, he was a young kid back then. It's, I think there are very few guys who can hold that all the way through. Ovechkin's an anomaly.
Yeah.
The fact that he's, 36 and he's 26 points. I mean,
Well, I
he's,
think I really think Ovechkin's wants to catch Gretzky.
I think he could
And
do
I
it.
hope he does because I don't like Gretzky.
I think I forget where he's at. NHL all-time leading scorers. I think he could do it. I think they said in like maybe 2 years he would need 2 seasons to catch him. Goals leaders. Let's see. Ovechkin 742, Gretzky 894, 150. He need 3 years.
3 or 4 years.
3 to 4
Gets-
years.
gets
He'd be
to
40. He'd be 40, but it's not out of the question.
Well, I think Ovechkin's going to catch Yager this year.
Yeah, he'll catch Yager this year. He could catch Howe next year.
Yep.
But I don't know if, Gretzky. That's gonna be a tough one. I think he could do it. He'd
Yeah.
have to play at least 40, but he could do it.
Well, yeah. I mean, Yager played till how long? 40 or something like that.
Yeah, and then he went back to the Czech Republic and
Right.
played another like 2 or
Right.
3 years. But yeah, and Ovechkin. Let's see,
He's 152.
so he's at 12. He's got 12 and 16 this year. So he's on pace for 50.
Let's say he needs 30. If he plays 4 more years, which is totally reasonable.
Yeah.
He needs 38 goals a year.
He could do it.
Absolutely.
Let's see, I think he'll be over 38 this year.
Yeah.
Again, 12 and 16.
Oh, he's still one of the best goal scorers in the entire league.
He's gonna be on pace for 50 to 60.
Yeah.
So if he does that, 50-50, and then that last year, if all he'll need is like 20 goals.
Yeah.
He could do it. Certainly not out of the question for him to break the all-time scoring record. And it's funny, while we're saying Sid's not going to be able to do it, here's Ovechkin, an old man who's still carrying a team on his back. But
Different players.
it's
though.
different. Yeah, different player.
I mean, I think Ovechkin has always been a goal scorer.
Yes.
He's one of those guys. He sets up on the point, and it's coming, and boom, it's in the back of the goal, even when you know it's coming. Sid has never kind of been that player. I would say Sid is a more skilled player,
Yes, he
more
is.
complete player all around, but not as good of a goal scorer. But I mean, how privileged have we been to watch those two guys with Malkin and Connor McDavid and some of these younger guys as hockey fans over the last couple of years? There's been some amazing young players.
There have been.
And guys that, are now getting to the the latter stages in their life who continue to impress. Ovechkin right now has, 12 goals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, he's basically averaging, a little less than a goal a game. He's only played 16. So
Yeah.
you keep that pace going, he can stay injury-free, which he's been pretty good at doing. Yeah, he can get there.
Big year, yeah. So I think he could do it. And for the Penguins, like you said, I think if the Penguins make the playoffs, you got to take that as a positive this year. I don't want to say the wheels are off the bus, but there's certainly a little less air in the tires.
The Penguins, and I don't think anybody does, a Stanley Cup contender right now.
I think the truth thought so this summer.
The truth is, hey, I love the truth. But I also think if you sit the truth down and really get a hard opinion, I don't know if he believes that either.
we gotta get Joey in here. And listen, we said this was gonna be a freaking depressing show.
Yeah.
We did. We said this was gonna be
Kind of like it's almost like a funeral show of Pittsburgh sports. Well, that's it's odd for me because I grew up here.
all it did was win.
Yeah, and all we do is win in here. But I did have a little bit of an experience of your upbringing, having gone to college in New York, and just kind of the up and down that goes on in New York sports with the Rangers, with the Knicks. Yankees are usually in it.
They're
but
usually
the Yankees
good, but-
haven't won a World Series in a while now.
No, it's been a while.
The Mets haven't been good for a while. The Islanders were good last year, but by and large, a passionate sports city like New York, they expect to win every single year, and they just don't do it. And in Pittsburgh, it was every 3, 4, 5 years, one of the teams was doing something that you're going, oh, we're in the Super Bowl. Oh, we're in the Stanley Cup. That was really, really a cool time to grow up, and I think that is coming to an end for the foreseeable future. I think the Pirates actually do have a game plan going here.
If they
could
can
lead to some
execute,
success.
if they can execute it, they could come back.
Yeah, I think they have the right people in place. I no longer think Kevin Colbert is the guy for the Steelers to be the general manager. I think he's made too many blunders when it comes to drafting, and I think the Steelers need to move on from him. And we talked about it, and this is kind of what we wanted to get to before we go to our next little break here. The Penguins, there's a big story that came out yesterday that the Fenway Group, I believe it was called, that owns a big soccer franchise and other entities. I think the Red Sox are involved in that as well.
Fenway Sports Group was John Henry. They own the Red Sox. They own Roush Racing, NASCAR, and they own Liverpool, who's one of the biggest teams in England. Yeah.
From the way I read this, is Ron Burkle, who's one of the owners of the Penguins with Mario, is looking to get out. Mario is looking to stay in.
Yes, that's what it sounds like. Yeah,
is looking to sell his share of the team to this Fenway Group, and Mario would stay in play, which would be great because I think Mario is Penguins hockey. You don't want to be selling to an outside organization that's not from the area, that really probably doesn't really know a lot about hockey. Having Mario is a game changer.
Yeah, it is. They need him in order to keep, I think, the fan base happy. Though from everything I've read over the last 24 hours, there are some folks on Twitter from Pittsburgh who I think were fans. They not so much reporters who are like, "Oh, here we go. They're going to move us to Oklahoma City this time." And everything I've read about,
that's not going to happen.
No, is Fenway Sports Group has looked at this and that the internal kind of conversations have been, we think that Pittsburgh's a great market for this. The fan base is so rabid. We want to use our financial power to bring this back. Brand new arena. Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
No, and I think for anybody who might be worried that they might turn branding on its head or might turn their backs on the fans or this and that, the same rumblings happened when they bought Liverpool, and there was a dark period as they kind of restructured it where they weren't that good. And now that their kind of plan is in place, they're one of the best teams in Europe. So I think there's no reason to think that Fenway Sports Group would hurt the Penguins. They've now done this for quite some time. The Red Sox have been super successful under them.
Absolutely.
Liverpool.
Ask Yankee fans.
That's it. Ask a Yankee fan. Yeah, ask me as a Yankee fan. Yeah, listen, Liverpool has now become super successful under them. They now own half of that Roush Racing. They own Nesson, New England Sports Network. These guys know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And if the Penguins need an investor to get to the next level, Fenway Sports Group would be a fantastic ownership group to bring into Pittsburgh. And as one that is interested in multiple sports, they could help this city in ways beyond hockey. I could see them very easily looking down the line at talking to Tuffy Schallenberger about saying, you want to be a minority owner of an MLS franchise. We'll be the parent, and you stay on, just like Mario. And I could very easily see them getting deeper involved in Pittsburgh if they come in and get the Penguins. But I think if they take over the Penguins, it'd be great for them. And it would give them a good infusion of cash.
Well, I don't think they're necessarily going to take over. I think they're going to, with Mario, I think Mario's still going to be calling the shots and running the team. But just that, like you're saying, having that financial backing, another large international ownership group with a lot of resources, it's definitely going to fare well for the Penguins.
Well, and I think for them, for a group like Fenway, and I know all these guys have money, but for a Fenway Sports Group to come into a place like Pittsburgh, and this is already a pretty established franchise that's had a lot of success, but for them with global network, like you said, what's it to them to hire another scout?
Right.
What's $200,000 or whatever it's going to cost for a scout, $250,000, and be like, you're going to go live in Moscow. Go find us the next Malkin.
Yeah.
That's nothing.
And to me, I think the Penguins, out of the three major sports franchises in Pittsburgh, they are the ones that I feel have they're going to be the quickest ones to turn it over and get back into competing again.
Yes, they will.
Opinion.
Yeah.
That would. I think hockey, by and large, with the right people, with guys like Mario, with guys like this group,
you only need two guys.
Yeah, you can turn it over and boom, you're back in it. And that's my opinion.
Listen, look at the Penguins. Mario and Jaromir Jagr left. They hit a rough patch. Crosby and Malkin came in, and almost overnight the Penguins turned around.
Exactly.
You know, it's I think of that. You know, hockey and basketball are very similar to me in that regard, where you can take. You know, you can take a team, a basketball team, and you get 2 or 3 decent players, and you could go, you know, from a has-been to a playoff team overnight.
Yep.
And, you know, it's a little more difficult than that, you know, obviously theoretically, but if you get 2 guys who could shoulder the load, it makes life a lot easier. I think, you know, let's move on now to Pitt. Specifically, let's at least get some type of positivity into the program.
Yeah.
Football team has rebounded after losing to Miami and pulling a Pitt. They beat Duke and they beat UNC. They're 18th in the top 25. Got Virginia at home this Saturday at 3:30. Another winnable game for them on their way to the Coastal Conference title. This one's probably the decider for the Coastal Conference as Virginia enters 4-2, and then there's the trap game at Syracuse to end the season. But
Virginia's not bad, especially if their quarterback's going to be playing. I don't think he played in the last game against Notre Dame, and that was a big dynamic for Virginia not having him. This could be a tricky game for Pitt, and I agree with you. I think Syracuse could pose some issues for them, but this is a really, really important game for Pitt right now, and it's exactly like you're saying. If you finish 10-2, you're going to the ACC championship. You're probably going to see Wake Forest, I would assume.
Yeah, at this point, I think that's safe to say, and you're going to a major bowl.
Well, the projections I saw yesterday would be that they would play Notre Dame, actually.
I mean,
I'm trying to think what the bowl would be.
I mean, that's a pretty that's a pretty nice game to get. You know, if they end up with Notre Dame.
Do you know what ball game you'd play? It kind of changes, I guess.
There's so many of them now too. It's almost impossible to follow. Penn State. Okay, so MSN is saying that they'll be playing the Cheez-It Bowl. Ooh, the Cheez-It Bowl.
Yeah, I'm not sure I believe that. If you finish 11-2 and you're going to be top 15 team in the country,
yeah,
the ACC champion,
I don't think you're
not playing in the Cheez-It Bowl.
The Cheez-It Bowl, Iowa State versus Pitt is what they're saying right now. I'm not sure about that. Maybe I would imagine they'd have to be in, like, they won't be in a major. I don't think they'll be in one of the Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl type games.
Right.
They'd have to win it, but. If they win the conference, they could very well be in Fiesta Bowl or something
like
that.
You'd be ACC champion.
Yeah. Because right now they're projecting the Peach Bowl would be Michigan State, Wake Forest.
Okay.
So listen, win the conference, you're playing a New Year's Eve or New Year's Day game, which would be great.
Yeah, I mean, you tell most Pitt fans that, hey, you guys are going to finish 10-2 in the regular season, be ranked top 15 in the country, have a chance to win the ACC outright in regards to the championship,
and play Notre Dame on New Year's.
11-2 and play Notre Dame or somebody like
that caliber. Yeah,
I'll take that
any day
all
of the week. Any day of the week. I think the only thing that's going to sting for Pitt fans this year is if they go 10-2 is the knowledge that they could have and should have gone 12-0.
Maybe they should have beat Western Michigan.
Yes, for sure.
I
think Miami,
we were all scared about Miami,
and it went sideways for them. It did.
And I'm not going to say that Pitt definitely should have beat Miami, because I think Miami beat Pitt.
They played very well. Miami,
right?
They did.
That
freshman
wasn't one of
tore
those
them
situations where like, oh, okay, Pitt, shot themselves in the foot. No, they gave up 31 points in the first half.
Yeah,
Miami did that. Not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I would say
11-1,
the game you're looking back at is Western Michigan.
Yeah,
that's the one where you look back and go, hey, we probably could have been 10-1 or 11-1 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's where I would have really said, man, that Pitt being Pitt.
Yeah, but either way, listen, if they go 10-2 and get to a major bowl game, even if they lose it, finish, it's let's say 10-3 plus.
Here's what I have here, Alex. This is from CBS Sports.
Okay.
This would be the Fiesta Bowl on January 1st, at large Notre Dame versus Pitt. This was
that would be
yesterday.
That would be a great game for them.
This was I guess this was a little bit earlier in the year, but I'd go for that.
Yeah. I would take that. I'd take that and be very, very happy. Even if they're 10-2, even if they lose the ACC final and then get another decent game, even if they finish 10-4, it's not a bad year. Ideally, maybe you'd you want to go 11-3. Somewhere around there, this year
was
you'd
at
be
the end of October. That article was
so it's
written.
changed a little.
It's changed a little, but I mean, what's Notre Dame? They lost. I remember Notre Dame lost to Cincinnati. I'm trying to think.
They're 9-1.
9-1. Okay,
So that's the only loss that they have. They got Georgia Tech and Stanford, who they should beat in their last two.
They really haven't played anybody that good this year.
Notre Dame's schedule got messed up when they joined the ACC, and the way the contract was written is that they have to play. I think it's 5 ACC schools in football every year now. So they're not officially a part of the ACC, but they're not playing Michigan State. They're not playing US. Like every single game is this death march.
Yeah, they beat USC this year, but USC hasn't been all that great. They lost to Cincinnati. Their big win this year was to Wisconsin.
But
Man, I'll take that all day if I'm a Pitt fan. Pitt Notre Dame, and that would be I think that would be a really good.
It'd be a good matchup.
Good matchup.
It would. I think it would favor Pitt to at least hang around and play a tough competitive game. But I think that's worth being positive about. Pitt did have a very good year in football, and if they could close out 10-2 in the regular season, everybody should be very happy here in Western Pennsylvania.
Hey, before we move on to the next segment, I know you were spending a little time with one of our great sports sponsors, the Polish Falcons. It seems like they got a lot of cool stuff going on right now. And if you're in the market for insurance, in today's day and age with all the goofiness going on in the world, there's no better time to make that investment into yourself and into your family in case something does happen. And I think the Polish Falcons are exactly the type of company you want to work with.
Yeah, we were with them yesterday. We just filmed we taped the first Voice of the Falcons radio program.
I love that name.
And we're very excited. We had most of their management team on with us. Timothy Kuzma, the president, did the introduction. That was a nice 10-minute segment with him explaining all the benefits, not just financially of being a part of the Polish Falcons, but socially as well. They have over a dozen nests still open here in Western Pennsylvania. I got my paperwork all filled out and in to them. Where listen, the Southside Nests that's going to be my home base. So I'm excited to continue on my family's legacy of being a part of the Polish Falcons. Check them out, PolishFalcons.org. My grandparents were members of the Falcons. My great aunt was a member of the Falcons. They would go to the bowling tournaments and the golf and this and that. My grandfather played.
Duck pins in New Jersey, or is that only a Pittsburgh?
I think we didn't have.
Okay, duck pins are like the mini pins.
No,
mini bowling almost, but on like almost a full lane.
I think it's a Pennsylvania Pittsburgh thing. Yeah, we didn't have that in Jersey. They would go to like when the Falcons had their bowling stuff in Jersey, the different nests. They would just go to regular old bowling alley, and that's where they would do it. But yeah, check them out, PolishFalcons.org. Call them 1-800-535-2071, 1-800-535-2071 for more information. You can check them out again, PolishFalcons.org. They offer financial services, life insurance, as well as a wide variety of social activities, especially now for youths. They've been expanding a lot of their children's activities and teenagers' activities as well to try to make sure that next generation of folks gets involved with the PFA. We should probably thank a couple of our other sponsors, Quick Trip IV as well. We want to say thank you to Bo and Newman for supporting us through high school football season.
I got a new graphic that we're going to be debuting the next time The Truth is on, and it's going to be featuring Quick Drip IV for the sports report. So yeah, we definitely got to get down there, myself included, because I need a quick drip to get ready for
we've all been batting around like, when are we going to get down there? We got to grab Jordan and get her, and like everybody's schedules are just all over the place. But we definitely got to get down there in the next couple of weeks, and maybe after Thanksgiving we'll all be full of turkey, and that'll be a perfect time to kind of go and hang out with them for a little bit. But yeah, we love to thank them for their support of us here at Three Rivers Broadcasting. And then you've got a new venture as well that we talked about last week.
Grip Spritz. It's a little tongue twister, but a really good company we're doing some work with. They focus on exactly what you would think: gripping your court, gripping to the court, your shoes. Good company out of Cleveland, Ohio, that we're going to be utilizing. I have used them with my training clients, and we're going to be using them at the high school. But they're really a good company that I believe in. They're family owned, small company. And we're gonna have a couple more dynamics or information on Grip Spritz over the next couple of weeks as we get into high school basketball season. And you could find out more about them. I'm actually going to pull up their website here. That's what I'm looking for. Everybody has the link trees now, so it's tough to find.
It's tough to find, yeah.
It's Grip Spritz with a Z.net. GRIPSPRITZ.net. Alex, how about we take a little break and then come back and wrap up with some one of our favorite topics, Pitt basketball.
Yes, all right, let's do
on
it.
The Pittsburgh, I should say, the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report.
Be careful.
Carnegie Ironworks is Pittsburgh's go-to for artistic, unique, and decorative steel and iron designs. We provide custom fencing, interior and exterior railings, outdoor fire pits, window coverings, and much more. If you can think of it, we can fabricate it. Find us on the web at www.carnegieiron.com. That's Carnegie Ironworks, for when you need it for 500 years. Are you an athlete looking to take your game and performance to the next level? Gym Rat Performance Training is where Pittsburgh's elite competitors go to train. We specialize in personal training, strength, speed, and agility training, sports-specific training, and we offer the best basketball player development in the City of Champions. If you are ready to transform your body, expand your mind, and reach your potential, it's time to join the Rat Pack at gymratpt.com. That's GYMRATPT.com. Gym Rat Performance Training, punishing Pittsburgh since 2016 because rats don't rest. Are you looking for a job that can turn into a career? If so, why don't you hit the road with Waste Management? Waste Management is hiring experienced and entry-level CDL truck drivers and technicians. If you're at least 18 years of age, come join our growing team and get up to a $7,000 sign-on bonus based on experience. WM offers competitive pay and industry-leading benefits, including tuition reimbursement for yourself and dependents. Start your tomorrow today. Visit WM online at careers.wm.com. Protect yours and provide for others with the Polish Falcons of America. If you could get great life insurance and make an impact in your community, why wouldn't you? You can do both by choosing the Polish Falcons of America. The PFA provides life insurance and financial services while also giving back to the people we serve by reinvesting our profits into communities. If you're thinking about life insurance, it's time to think differently. Learn more by calling 1-800-535-2071. That's 1-800-535-2071 or visiting polishfalcons.org.
We're back here on the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report. Alex and Andrew with you. We had a nice little positive segment there, but it's time to take Pittsburgh sports back into its depressing state of 2021.
Well, at least the Panthers got a win last night, but it was not pretty.
No, it wasn't pretty, but the Pitt showed that they are about the level of your average Big South team, defeating UNC Wilmington 59-51. I didn't get to watch the Pitt game last night because I was down at Point Park.
Think it was on.
I don't think it. Maybe it was on. It must have been on like the Plus or something.
WVU massacre, but that was about it. But yeah, they have Towson coming up. I don't know how good Vanderbilt is.
2-0.
Vanderbilt's 2-0.
Yeah, okay. Vanderbilt's 2-0. They beat Texas State yesterday, and they beat Alabama State in their opener for what that's worth.
And then UMBC, and then they have Minnesota, Virginia.
Loss.
Yeah.
We start the loss train.
I'm telling you, I would be very surprised if they get 2 wins in the ACC this year. I'd be surprised with that.
Yeah, they're gonna listen. I figure, like we've talked about, they got to nick Boston College. That's going to be their only real good shot at a win in conference is going to come against BC. That's it. You look at the rest of these games; these are all
Georgia
losses.
Tech any good this year? I mean, they won the conference tournament last year, didn't they? I think they did.
Yeah, I would imagine that they're probably still decent. It's so early too. So right now everybody's playing kind of Camp Cupcake, but it's you'll know a little bit more about these teams in probably the end of December when they go tackle some some more difficult games. Georgia Tech right now is 2-1.
Okay.
And Georgia Tech lost to Miami of Ohio, and then they beat Lamar and Stetson. So again, they're kind of in the beginning of their cupcake schedule.
Yeah, because I remember, I'm pretty sure Georgia Tech beat Florida State last year.
I believe they did, yeah.
So they had a good team. I mean, it's never a cakewalk in the ACC. Obviously, I think Pitt made that move for financial reasons and for football.
For football, yeah.
And it just has not worked out for basketball. They haven't been able to recruit kids that get it done in the ACC. And in a lot of ways, they've changed their style of play to fit the ACC. Pitt, when they were in the Big East, played a kind of a rough game, a physical game.
That was the nature
New
of the
York style.
That was the nature of the conference,
Right. And since they've gone to the ACC, they've kind of sold out their identity, and a lot of that has to do with the different types of coaches they've had. And obviously they don't have Ben Howland in or Jamie Dixon or any of those guys. But yeah, it's been a struggle, and I don't see it getting much better anytime soon for Pitt.
No, and we've talked about this. Jeff Capel's very much on the hot seat. I mean, I know they gave him this big extension, but for me, if you're the athletic administration at the University of Pittsburgh, you have to be taking a long, hard look at this season, because he's turning he's making the turn, like we've talked about. You're 4 or 5 years in. This is where you're starting to see his first crop come through. This is your first senior class, and this is a team that got gutted with transfers.
Yep.
Has had now injuries and legal issues take over this season, and they just lost the only recruit they had.
Yep.
It's not a good look for Pitt basketball right now. And the move has benefited them in football. It's benefited them in other sports like men's soccer, who's very good, but their basketball team hasn't benefited. Again, we've talked about a couple of different things. You brought up the style of play. We talked last week about not having really a natural recruiting base here in Western Pennsylvania, where you have 5-6 guys every year that you could fight for. You're in a position out in Western Pennsylvania where there's one kid, so you got to get him, and if you don't get him, and it was even a couple of years ago, my dad and I were talking about, when Morton was a senior, we were saying, if Pitt wants to compete, they have to hit them all. Like, you have to get Morton, then you have to get Jeffries. And down the line, you got to get all the top kids here to stay home now. And they've struggled to do that whenever there's been an elite player out of Western Pennsylvania under Capel. Haven't been that many, but they haven't been able to capitalize on that. And then just the program in general has a malaise over it right now. Where I think that, they're just in a little bit of trouble.
They're in a lot of trouble.
I'm being nice.
Yeah, they're in a lot of trouble.
I'm being
And
nice.
I'm looking at some of the other teams in the AC. I'm looking at Clemson right now. And, a lot of these kids, Clemson doesn't have it up, but, a lot of these kids, like you're talking about a recruiting base, anymore, I would say, most of these really good programs,
They're national.
Yeah, they're national level. You're not really, camping out and just banking on, I hope, we have a couple kids from Pittsburgh, or, with these AAU teams traveling all over the place, you have to get kids from all over. I mean, like, I'm looking at Clemson's.
we've
they have a
lost
guy
you.
from Nevada, a guy from. I'm out.
Yeah, we've lost you off the screen.
I'm back.
What's going on? There we go. Now we got you back.
But yeah, Clemson has guys from like Nevada. They have a guy from Ohio. Here's another guy from Massachusetts. You have to have people from all over the place that are going to be well. And Pittsburgh, to me, is a cool town to go to
Oh,
college
absolutely.
in.
It's a great place to go to
I
school.
kind of get like annoyed with this whole, Pittsburgh's not you get to go to school in the city. Like that's a cool.
Also, I
draw.
think Oakland is an awesome area to go to school.
Yeah.
Like in Pitt, this isn't an ugly campus. It's
No.
not like, with all due respect, it's not like Rutgers,
No.
which is
Yeah.
this spread out, sprawling suburban hellhole that I'm from New Jersey. I'm allowed to say that about Rutgers. Yeah, Pitt is a beautiful, it is a beautiful, beautiful campus, especially around the square there, where the Cathedral of Learning is, and the Student Center, and the library. That's a beautiful, beautiful area to go to school and hang out. And there's lots of cool restaurants and little shops, and when you're old enough, bars and stuff
Yeah.
to do in the city, not just up in Oakland, but in the whole city. The city's in a big renaissance period right now where it's bouncing back.
And that's kind of
It should be a
thing,
great
like,
sell.
Okay, you don't have the Ohio State or the Alabama football.
I would
experience,
take-
but who cares?
I would take this city over Columbus any day of the week.
Yeah,
I was in Columbus a month ago for the World Cup qualifier, and I've been to Columbus for 3 of them now. And man, Columbus is okay. It's nice. It's a very clean city, but there's just not something's missing there
Yeah.
that Pittsburgh offers. That I look at Columbus. I'm like, it's a big Midwestern city, whereas Pittsburgh's got some character to it, and there's a lot to do.
Well, and that's really what it comes down to. Facility wise, I think Pitt's as good as anybody else
For basketball, for sure. I mean-
facilities. You have a nice city. You have a good academic reputation. You're in the ACC. Really,
What are you doing wrong?
right? What are you doing wrong? And that's kind of the question. Why can't you get any recruits, even if they're JUCO guys on the rebound or something like that? Why are they not interested in coming to Pitt? There's something going on that they can't get any of these guys to commit up here.
And they've shown with the football team that they can do it.
Yeah.
That they can go into New Jersey and get players, and into Ohio and Florida and bring guys from outside the area to supplement the top talent from Western Pennsylvania that they have kept home. So why can't you do it in basketball? And I get it. I know it's not Duke, it's not Carolina, the glitz and the glam, but it never was that type of program. But they managed to always be a very, very competitive program by having tough kids. And I don't know what the deal is. Do kids, and maybe it's a generational thing. Do kids like going south now?
It could be.
Look at a kid like and again, you pick the best spot for you, but look at a kid like Devin Carney from Butler. St. Francis, Robert Morris, Youngstown, Duquesne, Cleveland State, Ohio, Akron, all these schools recruiting him. He goes to school in Carolina. He's going to Carolinas.
Yeah.
Do kids just want to get away? As far as that, I've seen it. I think we've seen it from New Jersey over the years. Specifically in the last 10 with basketball, kids are going south.
A lot of them are. Yeah.
They're going to Florida,
weather.
South Carolina, Texas. They're going to those schools in the deep South. Maybe it's the weather. They want to go to the beach in the winter. You look at a school like, College of Charleston or something. I mean, yeah, you can go to school down there.
Gulf Coast last night.
Listen, that school. I've researched that school after they took that run in the tournament. If I was a recruit and I got flown down there, they have a beach on a lagoon on campus.
Yep.
There is a beach on the campus. It's not on the ocean, but they're like 5 miles from the ocean.
Yep.
But they have a beach on campus. If I went as a recruit, and nothing against Duquesne or Robert Morris or these schools, if I went and toured them and then I went down to Florida Gulf Coast, I'd be like, where do I sign? I can go to school and I can study on the beach. Okay, sign me up. And I think that maybe, I don't know, does that hurt the schools up north? I don't know. Or is Jeff Capel just not that good of a recruiter?
Well, that's kind of what he got his whole reputation for was recruiting. And yeah, he's brought in a couple of good players, but you have to keep them. You have to keep them and develop them.
Well, you can't lose your whole
Speaking of
team.
Going down south, I mean, this isn't super far south, but I'm actually looking at Longwood University, and they're building a brand new basketball facility.
That's rural Virginia, right? They're at
it's
Farmville or
summer
something. Legit.
2023, but it's a beautiful facility. And their women's team over the last couple of years, they were really, really bad for a long stretch, but they got a new coach in. and I think they've been kind of on the up and up a little bit. And then let's see, last year they're 14-11. Let's see how the men's team's looking. You're going to have more teams that are kind of on that cusp of they're not too far away from Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and stuff. They're kind of middle ground, I would say.
Yeah.
And they're going to come up here as well and say, well, hey, why don't you, come to Longwood in Virginia? So you might not go all the way down to Florida.
There's
but we're
other
gonna
options.
Offer you a middle ground where you can get home a little bit, but you get better weather and that type of stuff. And I'm seeing a lot of those schools starting to make their way up here.
They are. So I think it's a multifaceted problem, but again, it starts with Jeff Capel.
Yeah.
And clearly his inability to bring in and then hold talent here. Again, they got hit with that transfer bug last year, and it's just not a good look for them right now. Running around the Pittsburgh scene, Robert Morris lost again the other day. They lost to Ohio 85-71, but we said Robert Morris is going to be in a rebuilding cycle as they go into the horizon. Lost to UCF on the road. UCF's always a pretty good program now.
Always, yeah.
And Kentucky, obviously, Kentucky's Kentucky, and then Ohio's always tough as well. So they're not ducking anybody. I will give Andy Toole credit. They're not running and hiding from anybody outside of the conference thus far.
Hey, we got about 2 minutes here. Give me your recap last night of our intern Jordan. Big conference game against West Virginia Tech. The Pioneers end up losing 51-44. Played at Duquesne, so kind of an odd setting for that game. Cool setting, but an odd setting, and I think that factored in a little bit to the Pioneers' lack of offensive efficiency.
Yeah, I think anytime you go from what is no offense to Penn State Greater Allegheny, it's basically a high school gym. Because that's the way their gym is set up. It's like a varsity gym at maybe a AAA or Quad A school, it's a big varsity basketball gym, and you go to an arena, your shot changes.
Yeah.
The whole thing, and folks at home may not understand that, but if you go from shooting in essentially a high school gym with a brick wall behind you, and now there's 25 rows of seats, as you're elevating, everything changes.
Yes.
And I think that bit them a little bit last night. They were, I believe.
Well, Jordan's game is not jump shooting or 3-point shooting. Her game's kind of more.
She's interior, yeah.
And, getting out steals, layups, that type of stuff. So.
They struggled to get out in transition yesterday. Tech didn't shoot all that well. I think they were only like 30% from the floor, but they did a good job of slowing Point Park down on the break. Point Park's shooting was not good.
Yeah.
They were 3 of 21 from deep. And they were 15 of 57 here, it says, from the field. They play defensively. Listen, Grenick put them in a place to win that game. He slowed the game down enough against the team, WVU Tech, that had a lot of good basketball players. They had those twins that you had told me about who played pretty darn well. They had another girl who's I believe she's a sophomore, who's a guard from Philadelphia, who's very fast, really athletic player. But he was able to control the game enough, and Burns played well last night. She didn't come off the floor, and you had said that she was battling a little bit of a knock. She played really well. Didn't come off the floor.
I'm looking at the stat. I mean, terrible shooting both teams. Tech was 30.5% from the field.
Yeah, Point Park was 25 or 26%. Yeah, it's not good.
14% from 3, 23% from 3 from Tech. You can't shoot that way, and that's really uncharacteristic from both teams. So, Point Park will move on to play a very good Rio Grande team next game in the conference. Point Park men were not looking good yesterday either. Obviously, played a really good West Virginia Tech team.
Tech's
right
tough.
On the cusp of the top 25. And I think it was the same type of situation. I'm looking at 82-60 final score. But here's where really the tell of the tape. Point Park shot at 40%, which is not bad, but Tech shot at 50%. And when you're shooting, and here's the other thing: Point Park 16.7% from 3. They only hit 2. West Virginia Tech 44.4%. They hit 12.
Yeah.
So when you have to be able at the college level to hit shots. And
They-
that's
they
really what
were-
it comes down to.
Yeah, and they didn't fall for either of them last night. I stayed for some of the men's game, and it was pretty like right out the gate. Both teams struggled, the men and the women, for Point Park. I know Jordan wasn't happy after the game because I stuck around and talked to her for 2 or 3 minutes, and usually she's pretty happy after a game, but yeah, she came up. She's like, I'm not happy tonight.
Yeah.
So she's like, shots weren't falling, and just wasn't our night. And
Yeah, so you move on to
you
the
move
next
on.
one.
That's it. I think that's what I know. You had texted her. I told her after the game, like, just keep shooting,
Yep.
keep moving on. And but listen, they're off to a good start this year, though. I mean, listen, the women's team specifically at Point Park. I mean, they're 4-1.
Yep.
And now you start getting into a little bit of conference play. I told her, I'm not coming to watch you play at IU East this weekend, or
It's actually a good place to watch, though. I'll be honest. with you.
Richmond, Indiana. Listen, I enjoy following our interns around, and we're going to see Elijah this weekend. But I don't think I'm making the drive
going
to
out to
Richmond,
Richmond,
Indiana. Listen, I love you, Jordan, but we're not going out to Richmond, Indiana. Their next home game is against Carlo Thursday, December 2nd at 5:30. I'll probably be there for
They
that
have
one.
Rio until December. They have, East. They have Rio this weekend, so that'll be.
And then they got a break for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So, hey, let's wrap it up
Yep.
here. I want to thank our sponsors. Let me pull them all up because one of the things that we continue to add here at Three Rivers Broadcasting is we just have a great group of people that have really been behind our station. And if you're interested in getting your company name out there and having a little bit of push with a radio station that can kind of get your message out there. Maybe you want to have a show. We want to hear from you at threeriversbroadcasting.com. Just like all of our fine sponsors have the Guard Market Report at Gym Rat Performance Training, Lawrence Repair, Paul down the hall. Alex was doing some work for him today.
I'm gonna send him a bill.
Yeah, I think you should. Pennsylvania Football News. Billy does a fantastic job with the football coverage. And as we're coming to the end here in District 7, you definitely want to check out Pennsylvania Football News for all their coverage of the championship games. Steel City Grease Traps, Carnegie Ironworks, Mother of Mercy Academy, Waste Management, the Polish Falcons of America, Grip Spritz, and Quick Drip IV. Did I miss anybody?
No, I think we hit everybody right now that we have. So, we'll thank again all of our fine backers and supporters and sponsors. And check out our website, threeriversbroadcasting.com. If you would like to be a sponsor, go to the advertise page to tell you a little bit about us, and then you could go contact us. Of course, you could go to our archive, which we are building. So we're going to be adding video and the audio shows. Mikey D's up there. Eddie Biega will be getting one as well. The Polish Falcons will have the Voice of the Falcons archive. Go to our sports section as well. If you click on the sports page, hover over the top, we're writing some sports articles right now. I've got a couple of them up there that I've done already, just some updates on Jordan and Elijah, and one from the City League. We'll be down at the Alderdice game on Friday, so I'll have an article from that.
Oh, I
And
got one we missed.
who do we
You
miss?
got to check out Joey Wagner on Twitter. I think it's The Truth Swagner.
The Truth Swagner. Yeah, Swagner. Yeah.
On Twitter and, excuse me,
Joey's-
and on YouTube. So can't forget about Joey the Truth.
Yeah, if you're not supporting Joey the Truth, you are not a fan of Three Rivers Broadcasting. Let's say he had the one game he had a couple hundred people watching him. Like, he has thousands of followers.
Yeah, he does a really good job. He's entertaining. He had that football helmet on the other day. I was
Oh, he's
dying,
funny as hell. I love him. Yeah. All right. Listen, thank you, everybody, for checking in. It's been a great program here. And make sure you catch us next week, same time. We'll see you again Wednesdays at 8 o'clock for the Three Rivers Broadcasting Sports Report.